Good evening. We are here. We made it. I want to welcome everybody to FYI After Dark. I'm the host, Yolanda Hinton, along with my co-host, Edward Everett, aka Mr. E.
I want to say a pleasant good afternoon to you all, and thank you all for joining us on FYI After Dark. Oh, it's going to be a power pack after dark show, just bringing great information just for you. We want to say thank you also for joining us on FYI in the morning, in the daytime, with our sports talk on today, with our special guest, Mr. James Luther Everett. And don't forget to join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on FYI on our morning show with our special guest this week would be none other than Mr. Keon Wiggins.
Absolutely. We are so glad that we're able to be on. We're on PCE. We're on 1350, WGPL, WMVA, which I'm very proud, Mr. E. This is the newest platform that we're on. It makes me really happy about that. Along with all social media platforms, I want to welcome everyone that's on with us. Make sure you all get into the discussion, get into the chat, ask questions. We have a very special guest. I'm going to introduce her in a minute, but we are so glad for those platforms, Mr. E. Of course, we're on the World Wide Web, and we're just everywhere.
And just to let our listener audience know that you can also join us on your cell phone. Wherever you go, you take that cell phone everywhere you go. All you have to do is go to 1400 AM or WPCE 1400 and pick us up on all social media. FYI, you can go to everywhere and you can pick up FYI everywhere on your phones and on your social media pages.
I want to mention our sponsors, Cristo Records, making beautiful music. You can go to www.cristorecords, that's CRISTO records.com. Check out FYI, our link is there. Check out music by Yolanda Hinton. Check out the book. Bullying is right underneath your nose, and much, much more information that's coming from CristoRecords.com. Also, Beard Gods, BEARD Gods, GODZ.com. Mr. Chris Hinton is the owner, and we would love for you all to check out his products. He has things for beards, for the hair. He has apparel. He has everything you need when it comes to grooming. He has vitamins and all kind of things. And we just want to say thank you to our sponsor, Beard Gods, and to Cristo Records. I tell you what, Mr. E, without further ado, I am so excited for our guest. We had her on our morning show, and we have Dr. Jacqueline Butler, PhD, and her organization. The organization she's going to introduce, and she's going to also tell us a little bit about herself. But she is a mental health specialist, and we are so glad to have you, Dr. Jacqueline Butler. Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me this evening, and I'm so honored to be here. My agency is called Visions of Tomorrow, and it's based on the principle that I want people to start seeing new visions. There's a new life, new world, especially when they're coming out of struggles, dealing with mental health. And I'm in Chesapeake, 2006, Old Greenbrier Road, Suite 12, Chesapeake, Virginia. Phone number 352-0891. And don't forget the 757 in front. Other than that, we do a lot of mental health and community work. We look at all of the events that's happening in the world today and how can we actually help individuals see hope in sometimes a hopeless situation, especially in the African American community. I work with the elderly, I work with children, I work with adolescents and young adults, and we do an array of mental health services. So that's why it's under the broad spectrum of mental health. Specifically for the African American community, a lot of depression and anxiety. So as I said, we are out in the community and we're trying to develop some programs to just fit our community.
Absolutely. Miss D, I want you to look at Dr. Jacqueline Butler's name and look at all those initials and Dr. Butler. That you must have been in college all your life, or you've been somewhere. You have so many wonderful titles. Tell us about the titles that are behind your name.
Well, let me tell you how those titles came about. One, I'm a graduate of Norfolk State University for a master's in social work. Then I went on to do my other studies with the clinical field, and I became a licensed clinical social worker. Then I decided that I noticed there was an increase, especially during the substance abuse era, I called it. And so I became a licensed substance abuse treatment practitioner. Then when I started looking at the African American community, I went and started trying to find ways to help the community in dealing with trauma. So the last one is a clinical certified trauma professional on level 2.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I tell you,
That's right.
that is a lot. I am proud of you, and I am so glad again to have you. Thank you so much for taking your precious time with us on FYI After Dark. The subject of mental health.
That's right.
When you even think about it, it's like your mind goes to a million places. I wanted to start first of all with how what mental illness is, or when you talk to us about mental health, what things are you trying to get over to us?
Well, specifically, mental health deals with anything that causes confusion, conflict, stress based on your thoughts, feeling, perceptions, and understanding of the world. In other words, mental health is anything that disturbs your mind, disturb your thought patterns. And we have a lot of undiagnosed people. I often wonder when it comes to incarcerations and jail sentences, there are so many African American women and males who are incarcerated that I have found out have mental health issues, attention deficit disorder. They have bipolar. It's so many different ones, and depression and anxiety are the main two, especially in the African American community, because we face so many traumas over and over again. So I look at it from a perspective of trying to bring hope to the African American community. And when you know better, you do better, as one of our great poets have said.
Yes. As you look back, and I know you're a young lady, but I'm looking back at mom, I'm looking back at grandma's generation, just looking back. Is this something that has all of a sudden just crept up on us, or is it something that has been there the whole time in our families and in communities?
You know, we have a lot of families and communities at the present time who have become overwhelmed with mental health issues. However, because of cultural legacies and stigmas, they do not receive the appropriate treatment, and as well as the systemic systems that exist that are great barriers to the African American community. So it has been there since and before slavery. We just called it different things. You know, don't worry about grandpa. He's a little crazy. She don't worry about Aunt Sally, because Aunt Sally is sitting there sad. Oh, she'll get over it. And the biggest one when it comes to children is it's nothing wrong with you. Go ahead on and do what you have to do. You're just pretending so you'll get out of doing something. So we had those little catchphrases that caused a lot of people to live silently with mental health issues. And so it's just not only in the family. I can remember depression in my family. I can remember one of my great uncles who I really believe was schizophrenic. And yet a relative of ours who would always walk up and down, because I'm from P-Town, and walk up and down High Street, and people would just think nothing was wrong with her. but she was dealing with a psychosis and she
Yeah.
was dealing with healing voices. So it's in our families, and it's in our families today. It was there yesterday and was there before time even came for freedom for us.
Absolutely. Can you address the fact that in our community, and I can remember this again with my mom's generation, grandma, you don't talk about that kind of stuff. We don't go to counselors. We let the church do everything, or even if the church is not, addressing issues or, healing you from what spooks you or the enemies that you fight, those things were kind of put under the rug in the closet. Uh, but we don't talk about that and we don't go to counselors, whatever you do.
A lot of our people fail to go to counselors, as I've said, because of the stigma. And they always say, you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You do not have to be crazy to go to a counselor. Then it has been a system where African Americans have always had a situation where their counselors were of another race.
Ah.
And we have always been taught to keep secrets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the slavery part of it has put us in a position that we don't trust. Now, why should we? Because I'm going to be honest with you. The racism, the stigma, being stigmatized is still alive.
Ooh.
It's still alive.
Ooh.
And unfortunately, a lot of people are not strong enough to stand up against that.
Yeah.
So we live in a world that's constantly reminding us that they don't want us here. And in order to keep us away from a lot of things, they have to stigmatize us.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying all counselors are bad. There are some good counselors in all races, colors, and ethnic groups. However, the problem with that is until recently, they just start putting in our code of ethics about culture sensitivity, cultural education. And so they come in and they try to treat us like they would treat their ethnicity. And so they do not understand our culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so a lot of people have in the sad position that what will happen, you'll go to a therapist does not understand your culture, and then they would say something that is offensive, and then we revert back into that slavery move where we will not say that it's offensive. So it's a gamut of things. It's the stigma, it's the racism, it's the lack of knowledge and understanding of our culture, and it's the fear of being called crazy.
Ooh.
You know, when we look at mental illness, is there a chemical imbalance in the brain that causes us to go through mental illness?
Yes, there is. We have a lot of generations who have experienced mental illness, and the genetic portions of it has a great deal to do with it going on and carrying on. Now, especially when you look at depression, some depression is genetic. You look at bipolar, you look at schizophrenia, a lot of things can be genetically given or driven. However, what happens is we do not take time to study. Now, one thing I must bring to the forefront is this. We have just become involved in research for the African American community because we did not have that many African Americans or Blacks who were doing research.
Yes.
Therefore, that posed a great problem because it was a barrier. We did not have the information. Now, with more African American women and men going to college, obtaining their degrees, they are doing intensive research.
Wow.
They're finding out about their culture. As a fact, the statistics says there are more African American women in the doctoral programs now than before. Okay. So we have to look at this fact that we did not have the information nor the empirical evidence to provide the background or the backdrop of supporting what we was thinking was wrong. And now we have the evidence to show that it is wrong, but we still have a long way to go.
When we begin to look at the chemical imbalance of the brain, I was in a study with Dr. Lakanda, and she was dealing with the brain itself. What are some of the specs, and let our listening audience know, what are some of the specs that the brain shows for mental illness or mental disorder?
One of the things that it shows is confusion. It shows lack of motivation. Now, when it comes to the brain has certain sections that's
Yeah.
supposed to communicate to the nerves to give you the message, let's do. What has happened with the brain? Some of those nerves have become weak and dead. Now, when you add substance abuse to it, then it dulls it tremendously and almost kill it. Now, when that happens, the brain that needs the information to cause it to act and to become active will not receive the appropriate messages.
Wow.
Yes.
And as a reason, and because of that, you'll be surprised how just trauma can cause the brain nerve cells to kind of slow up and die out. And a lot of people don't believe that. And what's happening is we are finding more and more research to help guide us in that area. One of the biggest things we're looking at is dividing the brain into the different segments. And when we divide the brain, you have to look at the self, and you have to look at the motivation, and you have to look at other parts of the brain that says, I'm here to do one thing, give you the correct message so you can function effectively in society without extra toxic stress.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
I want to talk about the pandemic because I think it traumatized the whole world. Tell us about the problems and conflict and trauma, Dr. Butler, that people are suffering with now as a result of the pandemic.
Well, one of the things I look at when it comes to the pandemic is that, one, if there was any type of mental health problem, domestic violence in a home, or child abuse or neglect in a home prior to the pandemic, it only tripled.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
And when it tripled, that caused more trauma on top of trauma, which made it complex trauma, which people haven't even looked at when it comes to the African American community. They speak on it, but they very seldom treat it. So then you look at the depression, the anxiety, the fear. The biggest fear that I can call for the pandemic was the fear of death. That tore a lot of people up. So now, after the pandemic, we have become overburdened and overwhelmed with taking care of clients of all races. However, the African Americans are coming with the most revealing symptoms of depression and anxiety because they were living in a very toxic environment prior to the pandemic. The racism that continued has caused them to really feel more isolated, more alone, and more fearful. You can look at the churches. People used to go to the church all the time, African Americans. Today, we are still fighting for people to come back to church.
Yes.
We're still afraid, okay? And then they will go in little groups, and then they'll start talking, and they'll say, I won't go, girl, I can't go because I hear so-and-so had this and so-and-so had that. I don't care which way it is, the anxiety, the depression, and the fear has to be removed.
Ooh, how can we do that? We're going to answer that in a little bit. I just want to say again, welcome all our viewers to our platform, Facebook Live, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. I want to say good afternoon to Chris Hinton and all you all that are on. Please make sure you say something in the chat so we can acknowledge you. We can shout you out. If you have any questions for Dr. Butler, please, this is the time now to put your questions in the chat. So let's get back to the pandemic and let's talk about the youth because Dr. Butler, I'm under the opinion that a lot of people sit back and think that the youth are there, but they don't hear nothing, don't see nothing, can't, they don't feel nothing. They don't They don't even acknowledge that things go on. But they can be traumatized through a pandemic, or they can go through depressions in their life, just like any adult. We always seem to push them under the rug, as well, as though y'all don't need to have, you shouldn't have not a problem in the world. Can you address what's happening with our youth and teens in this day and time?
In this day and time, a major issue with the youth and teen is nobody hears me.
Ooh.
Nobody hears me. Their behaviors tell you that there is a problem. However, we have brought through the spirit of slavery, a slave mentality that we have to beat stuff out of kids.
Wow.
Stop, time out. Say that
Wow.
again. Say that again. Say that again. Pause, rewind, and say that again, because say that again, that
through the spirit of slavery,
okay,
we have brought to existence this day and time, and yesterday as well, that we have to beat things out of
to beat it. Yeah.
Okay. And one of the things that I look at is the simple fact that young people have problems. See, we need to realize that young people have bodies just like we do. And because they do, they have the same mechanisms inside of the body that we have.
Absolutely.
So they have nerves, they have brains, they have vessels. And so because of that, they continue to experience trauma.
Yes.
Now, what has happened and added to it is the simple fact that, and I'm so sorry if this keep blacking out
Don't
on
worry
you.
about it.
What we have to deal with is we have to realize that today's youth want to be heard.
Oh, yeah.
Now, a generation that's coming up after the millennials, that generation is very forceful and very powerful. Yes. However, we are trying to overlook that. And we're focusing everything right now on what's happening in the past. When I did my dissertation, I did it on millennials.
Wow.
And I did it on their apathy and church involvement. But what happened was they told me so much that they had learned through the church, as far as I love God, but I don't like the people.
Ooh. Wow.
Oh, and that's because they, like you said, Yolanda, they have seen so much. And so when you look at it, you need to realize that we need to let the youth speak. You keep on asking me to suppress my fears. You keep on asking me to suppress my thoughts. And then you want me to think in school where you would say train a child for the way it should go and it shall not depart. Well, if you train me that way, then I'm not going to talk in school. I'm going to be filled up with anger. And when you let me out of a cage, I am going to go wild. And that's what I felt when we first started with the freedom of coming out of the house after COVID.
Yes.
The children was fighting like, I don't know why.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Every time. And I said because they was abused and neglected in the home during COVID, and they weren't allowed to say anything. They had to sit down because they were getting on the parents' nerves because they was depressed. Yes. And therefore, when you let me out, I had to get all that anger out. It used to be, they said, let kids go out for recess so they could get some of their energy out. Okay. Well, we kept them for almost, 3 years in the house?
Yes.
And they stayed in there. And so now just imagine, you have me locked up in one little big room, which is the apartment or the house or my bedroom for 3 years. I came to eat. I came to talk. But who did I talk to? I talked to my friends on the phone. I probably heard their mother and father arguing. I heard my mother and father arguing. I heard them complain about me eating all the food up.
That's right.
That's the main thing. So we have a lot of young kids that I deal with that are just dealing with depression, dealing with conduct disorder, dealing with feeling as if they have no identity, and most of all, that they are nobody. You have to start letting them talk more. One of my biggest concerns is no shame in the game, okay? The older generation must learn how to receive the younger generation.
Yes.
That's right.
They
That's
cannot tell them to go and do it the way we used to do it or the older generation used to do it, because of one major thing. Times are different. I
Yes.
always tell everybody, if I had to come to church and I had to read the 10 Commandments and I kept on going Moses' way and I had to take that tablet to church, bring it to church, I'll never get to church.
Yes, yes,
Okay?
yes.
So you cannot tell me, oh, let it go, or it's nothing wrong with you, or you just pretending, or you making this up. And a child is suffering silently.
Yes.
Silently.
Absolutely.
Hurt, pain, emotion, everything you could think of. And then, what about you bully me at home? I go to school, I get bullied.
Yes.
I go in the street, I get bullied. Nobody helps me. Who is there for me? My parents are supposed to be for me. They are not there for me because they have their own problems. Now, we haven't even touched the fact that substance abuse is running rapid.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
So add that in there. I've been in the house 3 years with my father, who's an alcoholic, who gets mad with my mother. Boom. That's a traumatic experience. My mother is crying all the time because my daddy always calling her names. That's a traumatic experience. I was bullied before COVID, but now I'm at home. My daddy and mama, sister, brothers, all of them beating on me and calling me names. What do you think I'm going to do when I get out?
Ooh, I want to know about people and the youth as well, and social media. What has social media done to us as a community, as a people, and our young people? What role is social media playing? Is it something good, bad, ugly? What is this that we have, this thing called social media?
Okay, social media is a double-edged sword.
Ooh.
Like that. Okay. It can be good because you're able to communicate, you're able to find out everything that's going on. However, parents must start putting limitations on it.
Yes.
Because I deal with addictions, people have become addicted to social media. And because of that, we're losing the skills we once had as far as connecting and understanding that people love you.
Yeah.
You're losing it. And so what happens with social media, it becomes bad because it draws us into a circle of isolation. And if I'm depressed, if I look at it enough, then what can happen? I can actually go into suicidal ideations.
Wow.
Okay. You know, I learned how to do things. I have kids as young as 6 who are already addicted with social media, addicted with guns, addicted with bullying and fighting. Okay.
Yes.
And the parents don't know how to handle them.
That's right.
There are not enough resources. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yes.
There's not enough resources for us to really treat all of the people. But what we need is help in the community. I'm an associate minister at 2nd Cavalry under Dr. Jeffrey Guns, and we're in the process of creating a counseling ministry.
Wow.
Because it's needed. You'll be surprised that everybody in the church have not been freed or liberated from their addiction of anger, their addiction of substance abuse, okay, their addiction of pornography. But they'll never let them know. And then when it comes to women, what happens is they will put that addicted man up there just to keep a woman out of the pulpit.
Ooh. Oh, my
Pastor, I'm not picking on you, Pastor.
I know, because we talked one time before in reference that you was at the Hampton Conference Center and something went down over there with you over there. You know, but before we go into that, I want you to dialogue with us a little bit on that. I want to go back one step. What is the difference between mental health and mental illness? Are they two different animals?
I'll be honest with you. In my practice, no.
Okay.
It's the same thing. Because when you say illness, that means something is impacting the behavior of an individual.
Okay.
When you say mental health, Mental health is saying something is impacting an individual mentally. So
Okay.
either way, it's dealing with the impact or the adverse impact of an individual's ability to function effectively in society or within their own home.
You know,
Wow.
how did you feel? How did you feel, Dr. Butler, when you was over at HBC at the Hampton Conference Center? I was over there a couple of days outside with the radio station. How did you feel when you heard that? Did you want to set it off, or did you just put it in your pocketbook and walk away?
If I remember in our conversation, it wasn't the Hampton Conference, it was the state convention. I think it was.
Mhm.
Okay.
And what I put it in my wallet
Mhm.
only to take it out of my pocketbook and wallet when I had the opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was just a simple incident of somebody saying that because God or Jesus was a man, a woman was not supposed to be in the pulpit. Now, I had to ask the question because I'm confused now.
Mhm.
The word of God was inspired by God.
Yeah.
I've always been told you're given the word of God to help us.
Mhm.
Okay? We're supposed to follow it. That's our guide to get us to heaven.
That's right. That's right.
So the word of God says in the last days, men and women will be proclaiming.
Yes.
Okay? In Revelations, it says when the male child was born,
The
it
devil.
said that the woman grabbed the child and took it to safety.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. So with those two thoughts in my mind, I asked the question, is my Bible lying? Am I reading the wrong Bible? Help me, because I want to go to heaven.
Mhm.
And no one gave me an answer.
Wow.
Dr. Butler, when we begin to look at this mental health, mental illness, and we begin to look at the trauma that's going over all over the world,
Mhm.
I saw a blueprint of the brain and how the brain was functioning. You said to me, you said something that when that trauma, when that mental illness, when that abuse that burns the antenna so that it will not receive the right signal, or when it comes to the signal, it will not receive it. What can we do? What can we do? Put a kid on pills, put an adult on pills. What is the solution?
Okay. I am not an advocate for directly going to medication.
Mhm.
Okay.
But I will say if medication is needed, it should be provided. If
Okay.
I had diabetes and the doctor told me I had to take insulin, I don't care whether it's with a shot or pill, I jump for it.
Mhm.
That's right.
Mhm.
Okay. If I had a broken leg and the doctor told me don't walk on that leg, I'm gonna give you those crutches, I jump for the crutches.
Yes.
I do not understand why when it comes to medication, when for mental health, people feel as if that is controlling them. Well, you've been
Yeah.
out of control. So how in the what we need to do? The medication stabilizes you. Okay. And when it stabilizes you, it gives the therapist more information to help you modify those inappropriate behaviors, to get a stronger sense of self, to help you calm down when you cannot calm down. It is not meant to control you.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody over medicates you, that will control you. So you have to be knowledgeable of the type of medication you're taking.
Yes.
That's very important. And and just like I say, people talk about trauma. Trauma doesn't have to always be where you was involved in an accident or you saw a killing.
Mhm.
One thing I'm very afraid of is the simple fact that even from the pulpit, there are so many people in the church who need mental health help that the pulpit does not know it. But you could be saying some things to them that would make, or saying some things to the congregation that would become a trigger for the individual.
Yes.
One of the biggest things I like, take a young girl who was sexually abused, and all she was talking about was she was always frisking around men and frisking around that. if you go to the pulpit and start talking about how the women look with the dresses on and all this stuff, that's a trigger.
Yes.
That's right. That's
It's
right.
a trigger.
Absolutely.
And people don't know it. And so, we're trying to educate. That's what we're trying to do, educate our community as much as we can about mental health. It's very important.
Absolutely.
And what happens is we have this stigma so bad that when we go and give you the information and you go home, it's just like I can take an alcoholic out of a house, a alcoholic who drinks and the whole family drinks, or either in a drug house. Clean them up. Clean them up. They don't drink no more, don't want it, don't have desires, not having no triggers. They're standing strong, they're fighting it. But let me put that person back in that drug house.
Wow.
It's the same thing with mental health.
Wow.
That's why it's so hard, because you'll go home and you'll say, oh, my therapist said this or that, and it really helped me. Oh, that therapist don't know what they're talking about. All you need to do is sit down and stop being a pest.
Ooh.
We kill ourselves.
Absolutely.
Dr. Butler, and then sometimes that triggers is the way, the tone of voice that folks use when they're dialoguing with each other.
Correct.
Sometimes we dialogue and use a tone of voice which triggers, where may cause someone to be on what they call defense or pull back or shut down. Let's talk about that. Why does conversation has a tendency of causing folks to have triggers?
Conversations causes folks to have triggers because of the simple fact it's associated with something, especially young kids. I may not have the cognitive abilities, that's the words, the thoughts, the sentences, to describe what I experienced or what I felt when somebody was molesting me. Okay. But as a young child, I do remember the sound. Okay. So when you talk to me in a certain way and you speak in a certain tone, yes, I will be triggered to remember that abuse, no matter what. And so what happens is that automatic, so it's associated, and it's because I think it's up to 6, you are able to only express yourself through feelings. You begin to learn to talk, but you do not have the vocabulary to describe it. And so that's why it's so important that we are mindful that the slightest thing can trigger somebody. But what I try to get my clients to do is, if that triggers you, tell the person.
Wow.
The person may not know.
Tell
the person.
Absolutely.
And that's good, doctor. That is so good.
Yes.
What do we need to do in order to get this information out?
More workshops. I'm just going to tell you, more workshops, more platforms like this. We need to keep on. And I think sometimes we need to go into the community rec centers.
Okay.
And talk to the people.
Wow.
Okay.
Yes.
Sometimes we need to have special events just on certain types of mental health. It's not just one big globe, but
you
just
mean tell me there's more different types of mental health? What are some of the kinds of mental health?
Well, one is definitely the addiction pieces.
Wow.
Then you have the schizophrenic, the bipolar. Now you have the emotional regulation. It's so many, and so many things are being overlooked. I'm telling you, it's being overlooked, and we have to just get out there and spread the news to our people. But there are not enough platforms, or they're not calling enough of the professionals. You mentioned Dr. LaConda Fanning. She's an awesome psychologist. Awesome. And we work closely together. And so, we need more of those type of situations. And importantly, the church. The church.
Yes.
We need to be in the church, having regular meetings. Grief is another one. The children with the violence going on now, that is trauma. As you said, Mr. Everett, Pastor Everett, the voice tones are trauma. Your field is trauma. If I go into a room and my spirit doesn't connect with yours, I automatically get anxiety.
Yeah.
Why? Because something in the church happened to me, or things happen in the church too that hurt
That's
people.
right. That's
You
right.
know, anywhere. But we have to start educating our people. We have to get into the communities, because if we don't, they're trying to get rid of us, but they don't have to worry about it. We'll get rid of ourselves. Because like I always say, I wish for every community that has a lot of violence in it, and it's an African American or Black community, I could go and put on every pole the Willie Lynch letter.
Yeah.
You might know about the Willie Lynch letter.
Yes.
And all it says that the white people said, I don't have to worry about them blacks when they get out of slavery, because they're going to kill each other.
That's right. That's what he was saying.
Yeah. And that's what's happening.
Yes.
And that's what's happening now. It's not so much of the Caucasian man coming in, the white man killing. We are really doing a number on ourselves. Our community has been in disarray. The people, drugs and their guns in our community, where we're fighting against one another. We're not helping each other to rise above. We're not raising them up. What we're doing now, doctor, is really beating each other up.
Well, that's one of the questions that I have for you, doctor. How angry are we? You mentioned anger, angry. How angry are we as a community, as a race?
We are only angry as high as a volcano that blows up to hurt each other, but we're not angry enough to go and help each other. Anger takes two forms. It could be a good anger and a bad anger, okay? And the good anger would be get so angry that you'll go out there and take care of your community. The bad anger is don't go out there and kill your community. So we are just, if you can imagine the highest volcano and it's blowing up, that's where we are.
Wow.
And mental health is playing a big part in it, because it's not being detected. It's not being addressed. We do not have the privilege of going to some of the doctors, because we do not have the insurances. It's so much.
Is that a number that they're doing on the teachers, that the teachers should recognize that, or the daycare or the pre-care school should recognize, like they do with, should recognize whether or not that child need to see a psychologist or need to see a doctor with is there symptoms that they should be aware of, or to let folks know that these are some of the symptoms, these are some of the signs of mental health?
Okay, for the little kids, a lot of time it is the anger, it is the sadness, but their sadness is not like adult sadness. Sometimes it comes out being very active. You're acting more than you usually do. And then sometimes it comes out with you being isolated.
Wow.
Okay. For the adolescents, it's a lot of anger. It's a lot of isolation. It's a lot of feeling and talking about nobody cares about me.
Yes.
Okay. And now even for the college kids, I was doing a study on college kids. And what I realized was a lot of times the professors see a kid come in there in class, lay his head down, don't do the homework, not talking in class. That is depression. If they're very hyper, got to talk all the time, that could be anxiety. Patting your foot, stumping your leg, wringing your fingers, all of those are very small symptoms of the mental health issues that young people have. We have to get out there. But one of the biggest ones is we have to learn how to talk to our young people. Okay? We have to stop talking to them so harsh, because that harshness only leads them to suicidal ideations.
Yes.
Okay? They're going through so much right now. Kids are even scared to go to school. Domestic violence, that exposure to it is just too much for kids. And I mean young kids. A baby can hear somebody screaming or hollering all the time, and then they become nervous and anxious. So it's so many aspects of this issue of mental health that has not been to the forefront. And most of all, our cultural legacies, you know, the burden of being subservient, obedient rather to somebody, the burden of always feeling as if you're nobody, the burden of racism, the burden of feeling you will be beaten if you do the wrong thing. That puts the nervous in people to say, I'm afraid to even speak in front of people because somebody's going to say I did it wrong.
Yes. When is it the best time to get help? All of us go through problems and sometimes trauma, but when is it, where do we get off the, okay, everything is the way things play out at times. I'm just going through a phase. When is it, when do we go from there to saying, wait a minute, I need to go see somebody. I don't think I'm doing too good.
And you know what? I could not have put it any better than you just did. Because the one thing about it is when you start feeling that your thoughts are not right, or your house is taken care of, your rent taken care of, your family doing good, but all of a sudden you feel as if you got a cloud over you.
Yes.
You need to start. For children, as soon as you realize their behaviors are odd, definitely for adolescents, when they start isolating themselves, and definitely for adults, when they start giving away everything, you need to really realize, okay, we don't waited too long. We have to take care of this now.
Doctor, when you're saying when the children, a percentage, now, once a child turns pre-teens, get in their 13 years, they get to become pre-teenage, 12, they start separating themselves from being little kids. Would you think that that's part of mental illness or mental health problem? Or would you just say that they just really now coming into their little adolescent time?
You can remember one thing about that. That is not mental health unless it's so severe. But when they start differentiating from the family, trying to develop their own identity, there is that voice, that little voice in them, because we have all these critical voices that always says, but mommy is my security blanket. Daddy is my security blanket. So I don't care how much they go out there with the teens, with their friends, they're going to always sometimes want a hug from mama or daddy, want to talk to mama or daddy. That's normal. I call that part of the developmental stages and changes they go through.
Yeah.
Erickson has a good piece on it about the social development. So that's a very strong piece in social development. But like I say, no, that's normal development.
Yes.
Normal development, and that's all it is. But when they start isolating themselves, when you start seeing them crying, and then if they start talking back, and getting to a point where they really, really don't want to be bothered with you, then you need to ask some questions. And then also, please be aware of the fact, as young as 12, as young as 9, 7, 8, kids are using drugs.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
We have to look at that. They're using drugs they've been exposed to. And unfortunately, some of them are being exposed to it within the homes.
Absolutely.
Okay. It's not always in the street.
What percentage, Dr. Butler, would you say is apt to be more of a mental health problem, the male or the female or the boy or the girl? What percentage would you give on a male side or a female side who's apt to be more with that mental health problem?
Well, when I was looking at some statistics recently, it was talking about 52% of the total Black population compared to Black males who make up 48% of the population is having problems with mental health. Now, they also say, however, when it comes to hidden mental health, the women are outrating the men.
Wow.
Say that again. Hidden mental health.
Hidden. That means undiagnosed. You still trying to be the strong woman. You still trying to deal with all of the things that happens with relationships that you don't know about, that you want about, you find out about. There's a lot of different precise percentages I wouldn't be able to give you, but right now with this one, I was reading from the American Community Survey census. That was what they were saying. And so you have to look at, they said in 2019, Black or African-American women made up 13.8% of the total women in the U.S. population.
Mhm.
So because of those figures alone, there is a higher, because our figures are low when you compare us to the total population.
Yes.
But when you compare us to our population, it is double or triple that.
So much. Can you give us vision for tomorrow, the services again? Tell people how they can be helped, and your social media or your numbers, websites where they can get more information about your organization and
You
business.
can reach our website is visionsoftomorrowinc.com. That's the website. My office number is 757-352-0891. And as far as other things, I'm just trying to put together some platforms so I can do more of this type of
Yes.
knowledge to people. So I'm working on it. My daughter-in-law, sweet as she is, she's working on my platform for Minister in His Hands.
Wow. I'm
Say
amazing.
that again.
Ministering
Say that again.
in His hand. It's
In
a
his
platform.
head.
His hands.
His hand.
Oh, okay. Minister in his hands.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Dr. Butler, give us
You know,
some healthy tips for a better lifestyle. What would you suggest? There's your organization and business where some of the cases that seem they may be extreme or mild or whatever, but then there's the average person who just going through some things and they just need some encouragement. Can you just whisper a word to them?
The biggest thing that we have found that really helps women, okay, is the sister circles.
Wow.
They are good, they are strong. However, we have to have good, strong, confident sisters
Yes.
who are willing to take the weaker sisters under their arms. We have to. Then the other thing is take time for you.
Yes.
I don't care if you don't do anything but just sit on the porch and breathe. Take 5 or 10 minutes for yourself. Okay?
Yeah.
That means a lot. Try to eliminate as much stress as possible in your life. We have to stop carrying our legacy roles, which means I can do everything. No,
Yeah.
we cannot. Okay? We need to stop being in a position that we refuses to share. My girlfriend, Pastor Sarah Williams, did her dissertation on caregivers.
Wow.
And one of the things she found that was a challenge was the simple fact that a lot of people will not communicate properly, as well as give other people or members in the family an opportunity to help. They'll always say, nobody can do it but me.
Wow.
Even if the person you're caring for say they want nobody but you, you have to say no and do not feel guilty. Then most of all, we have to start eating healthier fruits. We have to start eating fruits. It's very costly. We definitely have to start putting down that salt because it's really killing us to the utmost. And most of all, take time for you and God. You have to take time for you and God, because I'm here to tell you, He is your strength. And with that being said, all I can say is think positive and take a lot of the negativity with people talking about it, putting it in your family, putting it in your head, your thoughts, take it away. I have a girlfriend, she's a minister as well, Minister Hodges, and she always says, I don't want no negativity. I don't want no negativity. And I always say, but we live in a negative world. We live in a negative world. So she tickles me, but she's right. Take that negativity out of your life.
Yes.
Tell people, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear the gossip. Okay? Those are some of the main ones. But the biggest one for the Black community that we're used to, that we have failed to use, is the sister circle. And we need to start developing them more and more.
That is so true. Because the images sometimes that we see on not just social media, but television with the reality shows about women, it really can affect us in how we see ourselves. And we feel like we got to look like that. And act like that. Women are drinking more and just saying all kind of things in this day and time. It's just the reflection of what we see as women. Sometimes it just doesn't add up to how the scripture talks about the virtuous woman. It's just the total opposite. And we definitely need positive women, positive role models, that sister circle. Dr. Butler, I have a Young Women Achieving Success program for young girls. They need that interaction, the sisterhood with one another, and it really pays off to have those young ladies around you that can tell you that you matter and that you're going to make it. It is so important.
It is. It is.
Dr. Butler, tell us what is the school? We always put it in a fault of the church. The church need to, you said something that was key. You said the church need to have more of the education of mental health in it. What about the schools? What about the homes? What about information and tips and paperwork where folks can, like for example, when folks are reading the newspaper, there should be some tips in the paper that says mental illness. Now, it hit me just then, and I'm thankful because games, these children playing these video games, it on the side of the box, it has a disclaimer on it that says it could cause some type of chemical imbalance. When I was listening to Dr. Laconda, she did a thing over at the Northview High School. I mean, she opened up the head of a brain. And when she opened up the head of the brain, she showed that when they doing looking at TV so much and looking at the video game so much, this pink side of your brain kind of turns to another color. What can we do, since this is the day and time that technology is one of the strong points of any man, woman, boy, and girl's life? Technology is the way to go. What can we do to prevent us from having an overload?
Well, one of the things that's happening with the overload and with the brain when it comes to technology is the simple fact that long-term use, we need to cut some of that time off that they're using these computers. The games are really very violent that they're using, and they're taking that violence to the street. And one of the things is we need to do a little more reading. We really do not know exactly how it affects the African Americans, because as I've said, we need more research. But from what we have learned, it will cause prolonged use of any type of social media. It would cause memory losses. It would cause memory loss. It would cause individuals to begin to isolate in such a way they'll start visualizing themselves in those positions. It's just so much that happens when you start looking at social media, start looking at videos. And I'm not so much against it. I am against the long-term use of it, as well as using it for a babysitter.
What about the lights and the colors, the flashing rays? Does that cause anything to cause chemical imbalance?
Yes, it will. It'll cause chemical imbalance because it affects the natural and normal growth of the nerves, especially when you're young. There's a normal process or pattern that your nerves grow when they're in the body as you grow. Now, some things like that can stop the growth, delay the growth. And because of that, what happens is the brain starts functioning in a slower pace or a different race. I read something the other night where they was talking about prolonged use of strolling on your cell phone has an impact on your memory. Okay. So, you need to look at those situations. But like I said, How many of us as African Americans have really been educated on that?
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
I go
Yes.
back to education.
You
We
know,
got to have it.
they told I was reading somewhere the other day, Dr. Butler,
Mhm.
where the lights that the brain gives off, the brain gives off a great deal of lights, and sometimes lighting from the long-term use of the laptops or the phones will cause confusion in the lights that's in the brain.
That's correct. You know, one of the things about it when it comes to the lights, now you can take a child who has severe ADHD, and I saw this with myself, and you know how you have those lights going around and around in projections and on a screen.
Yes.
That child was totally out of control, but once it set and saw all those lights and stuff, it just sat there.
Oh my
As
goodness.
normal as could be. Normal could be. Lights does things. That's why we even know whether it's a light on a computer or not. If we're in a room and it's dark and the lights come on, what does it do? It hurt our eyes.
Absolutely.
And the only reason you know it hurts your eyes is because a message has been sent to the brain because something has been activated and told the brain to say hurt.
My God.
That's
It
all
is
right.
so much. Oh
Wow.
my goodness, to discover so much to think about and talk
Wow.
about. I'm hoping that people are beginning to get more open about mental health. I know the celebrities. I know you have noticed it, Dr. Jacqueline. Celebrities now are talking about I'm bipolar, I'm depressed, I got this, I got
Yes.
So people are a little more open now, and they're more easily to say that, you know what, I think I have a problem. And we want to thank you for helping us to be able to be comfortable with talking about it.
Yes.
And comfortable about saying, wait a minute, something ain't right with me. Can you help me? We thank you for your services, Visions of Tomorrow. We thank you for putting so much into what you do and surrounding yourselves with others that can really help our community. I want to say thank you so much for this evening. And I would love for you to give your information one more time for our folks.
Okay. Visions of Tomorrow, 2006 Old Greenbrier Road, Suite 12, Chesapeake, Virginia, 23320. Our office number is 757-352-0891.
Absolutely.
And thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Again, Chris Hinton, hello, Matthew Roman, Mr. Brown, Mark Howard, all you all that are on, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Make sure you all contact Dr. Jacqueline Butler if you have problems, if you think you're having a problem, if you're close to having a problem. Valerie Anderson, hello, thank you for joining us. And get some help. Be whole. Let's get whole. Let's get whole after this pandemic. You know, that along with other things has caused a lot of problems, trauma, but we can make it and we can be whole. Dr. Jacqueline talked about the church. She said, now go ahead and seek God as well. And let's put all that together and let's be a healthier community and society. So thank you so much again, Dr. Butler.
Thank you, Dr. Butler. Dr. Butler, thank you so very, very much. I got to let Dr. LaConda know that you are the best. You are
Thank
the
you.
very best. And you know, do you do seminars? Do you do?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I do.
So you do seminars and you do counseling, individual counseling also?
Yes, and family and couples counseling. And I also work on in the with the courts on abused and neglected children.
Yes. Make sure you let us know when you have an event so we can put
That's
it
right.
on
That's
our
right.
information to our listeners and viewers and
I
help support
will.
you.
I will.
And if you need someone to host your event, we're available to host your event also. Just give us a call. Let us know that, hey, I want FYI, the lady and Mr. E to come and host our event, you know, and let us help you to help our community to rise above mere survival.
Absolutely. So you have a wonderful evening.
You
Dr.
too.
Butler, and we will talk with you again soon.
Thank you for everything. Y'all take care. Be blessed.
God bless. Wow.
Okay. Wow. What a great, a lot of information, a lot of things that can help us as a community, as people. and let's get help.
That's
I encourage people that, if you even feel, you may not know, it may not be something extreme, but if you feel that, you're walking in anger, or you're traumatized, or, you're in conflict with yourself, or you don't know how to manage, your life, and you're depressed or whatever, seek some help. Of course, the church is there, will always be there. But sometimes people have to go the next step as well, and become well rounded with skills and ways of learning how to manage who we are and things like that. So again, I want to thank Dr. Jacqueline Butler, Vision of Tomorrow, and all that she brings to the table, and all the things that she's the vision that she has. It's wonderful that she said she had interest in the community. She saw a need,
right.
for a place where she could fit and help others. And we're so glad about that. And we want to thank her again for joining us this evening.
Ms. Hinton, if anybody looking to contact her, the telephone number to dial is 757-352-0891. That's 757-352-0891. There's some big celebrities that walk around with their mental health teacher, psychiatrists in their hip pockets. That so if, like Miss Hinton said, if you feel that you're going through some trauma, if you feel like you can't hold on, you're about to lose it, pick up the telephone and go see someone that's going to help you out, that's going to help you to maintain and to keep you whole, because what we don't want to lose another one to the community that's walking around here saying, woe is, which way do I go? Which way do I go? Which way did I go? She said something that was so clear, Ms. Hinton, that we, back in the days of what we called it crazy.
Yeah, they crazy. They look different. They look ta-ta.
They just need a little ta-ta. They just a little ta-ta, or they need to be where a child's supposed to be. She said that they have to speak. They want to talk just as well as as the adult want to talk. But you got to remember, when we let our children talk, they we can listen to them. We can listen to them, and we can hear the cry, and they could be crying for help, but we ignore it.
Absolutely. I want to go ahead and talk a little while, just a few minutes on our sponsors. Also, I want to let you all know there is a book, Bullying is Right Underneath Your Nose. You can get it online everywhere. You can download it. It's in Spanish, it's in English, it's Audible, it's an ebook. You can get it a hard copy by inboxing me and letting me know that you would love the book. It addresses bullying, who bullies, what it is, and where it is, and who even stands by. We talk about the victim, we talk about the bully, we talk about the bystander, and allow certain behaviors to go on. I encourage you all to get this book. Also, there are some other things that's coming real soon, but you can actually go on the website if you'd like, www.cristorecords.com, which is one of the sponsors, CRISTO records.com. You can get the book there. You can go to Barnes & Noble. You can go to iTunes, wherever books are sold, you can go ahead and get the book. Also, Beard Gods, beardgods.com. Go and look at this website. Chris Hinton is the owner. A lot of the products that you need, men, for your hair, for your beard, even what you comb your hair with, he has products that's going to help you to maintain it, oils and machines, and also vitamins, you guys. And so don't forget to visit Beard Gods, Beard Gods, BEARD, Gods, GODZ.com. Check them out and just check out the products and get the things that you need to stay healthy, look good. So, Mr. E, it's been a great FYI After Dark. You all can be a special guest. You can be a sponsor as well with FYI After Dark. Mr. E, give them that information.
If you'd like to be a special guest or sponsor of FYI After Dark, all you have to do is go to FYI Radio Show. That's all you have to do is go to FYI Radio Show Live at gmail.com and tell us that you would love to be a sponsor or a special guest. Or you can give us a call at 757-714-7861. Or you can inbox us at Edward Everett's Facebook page, Miss Yolanda the Lady Hinton Facebook page, or FYI Facebook page, and let us know that you would like to be a special guest, that you would like to be a sponsor of the most talked about radio show in the whole wide world. I mean, we own all the platforms in the world. That means we on FYI in the daytime and we on FYI at night, where we bring you nothing but the very best to help you to rise above. So don't forget to give us a call at 757-714-7861 or inbox us at Edward Everett's Facebook page, Miss Yolanda the Lady Hinton Facebook page, or FYI Facebook page, or email us at fyiradioshowlive@gmail.com.
We have some great shows coming up. Don't forget to join us on Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. on FYI Radio Morning Show Live. And just continue to watch us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Join with us. Join with our dialogue. Call in. Get with us when we do our sports talk and what's under the hat, issues concerning men, issues concerning women on Friday, serving that tea as well, and a lot of great things that we do. We want you all to be a part of it. FY After Dark, definitely join in. We're going to have a panel of men and women talking, and we're going to be just talking about issues and talking about things that are going on. Don't forget, sometimes we do our breaking news, trending news, what's happening in our society, important issues. And we are here, FYI, for your information, to give you all kind of information and things that go on in our world. So, Mr. E.
That's what it's all about. Listen, that's what we come here to do. We come here because we're on several platforms. This is not a podcast. Let me share that with you. This is not podcast. FYI is on live radio on 1400 AM, 1350 AM, 95.3 FM, 88.9 FM. That's WMVA. Accomack County. Miss Hinton, let me tell you, the pot came in today. Now, we're going to be blasting. So y'all might as well get ready to hear FYI in the DC area, in the Delaware area, in the Richmond area, in Saluda, Deltaville, in Albina, in you name it, Richmond. We're gonna be blasting FYI because we have what it takes. This is what is looking for. FYI is to bring you great information, for your information, to help you to rise above mere survival. So this is what will happen starting tomorrow, Miss Hinton. 88.9 has the new piece came in today, and our engineers going out there tomorrow, and they're gonna plug in the new transmitter. And then we're also on 95.1, 95.3. Yeah, that's an FM channel. We have done what we supposed to been doing to rise above. Listen, we're the only African American radio station owned and operated by African Americans. And guess what? FYI is a part of that team. We've been a part of that team for almost 7 years. Am I right?
Absolutely.
We've been a part of that team when we was nothing but AM, popping on, popping off, popping on, popping up. But listen, we have endured the test. We have ran this race. And guess what? We are still here bringing you nothing but the best. So we need your support. We need your support to be a special guest on FYI. We need your support to say, hey, look, I got some stuff that need to be brought to the platform, to be brought to your attention. We need you to inbox us and let us know what you want to hear that we can bring. We've been talking about the political field. We've been talking about politics. We've been talking about men and women, what issues concerning. We've been giving you safety tips. We've been giving you pool tips. We bring you nothing but the best. One thing we have not brought you is the kitchen. Miss Hinton going to be in the kitchen giving some safety tips on how to bake that sweet potato pie. Yeah. So you might want to get ready.
Yeah, we have the Royal Ladies Pie. It's going to be launched real soon. We've launched it as the Ladies Pie. It will be now the Royal Ladies Pie. Let me put the little logo up there for you all to see it. We'll give you more information about that launch date. You can still get your pies anytime, though. But we definitely have a launch date for you all. And we are so excited and happy to be able to bring you information and bring you great programs and bring you great guests. So don't forget to join us on Wednesday. What's Under the Hat? Issues Concerning Men. And we'll see you there at 9:30 a.m. WGPL 1350, WPCE 1400, WMVA 88.9, Peace 95.3, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and which on Facebook Live.
And don't forget the YouTubes, Crystal Records 1.
Yes.
Subscribe. Go there
and
and
subscribe to the channel.
That's
Crystal
right.
Records 1, CRISTO, Crystal Records 1. You can go there. You can see all of the FYI programs, and you can subscribe. And they'll tell you when another show is going to pop on. So, Mr. E, thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you again, Dr. Jacqueline Butler. Wonderful, wonderful guest talking about mental health, mental issues. And just educating us so well on the topic. So be blessed, Mr. E. We'll talk with you soon. You all have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Look, take advantage of this beautiful sunny day and just stay well. God bless you all.
2 up, 2 down.
You did.
BA.
Have a wonderful evening.
Bye now.